What about hard work? Does it matter?
Well, since you ask it so simply, I'd say no.
Netflix's CEO says that hard work is a myth. Why is it important for us to discuss this? Why is it important for you as a founder? And why, if you do not understand what this guy is sharing, what Netflix's CEO is sharing, you will forever hold back your business and your team from their full potential. You will always be slave to the business, building yourself a prison instead of an actual mechanism, a machine that can give you freedom. I can talk about this because I helped my dad scale and exit his business successfully back when I was in my 20s. I work with 7 to 9 figure business owners, helping them get better results by shifting their identities from operator to owner. And I wrote the book on the 10 martial arts plus leadership principles that give you the edge to join the top 0.01% without ever sacrificing your freedom. Something that I talk about in my book, and you're gonna notice him doing this. Silence is the sign of strength. So you're going to notice that when Stephen asks him this question, he sits in silence to tune into the right answer. When you see somebody doing this, you will know that they are an exceptional leader.
Does it matter?
Well, since you ask it so simply, I'd say no. Or it certainly is not the most important thing.
And another powerful trait of leaders is that they don't just give information. They use analogies, they use metaphors, they use story so that anyone in the team can understand exactly what they're talking about. So silence and story, silence combined with story, very, very powerful leadership tools. Consider playing around with that.
In fact, I think hard work leading to success is a myth that, and let me give you 2 examples, okay? The first is to qualify what I mean. I work with a lot of, as we spoke earlier before we actually began the session, about how younger people are different places in their life than older people, especially with career and how they think about it. And earlier in my life, I used to do triathlons, the races that combine swimming and then biking and then running. And back when I used to do them, they don't do it quite the same way anymore. It would be a mass water start. You have 400 or 500 people who the gun sounds and all 500 of them plow into the water simultaneously. Not a phased start. And as you can imagine, it is a shit show. You mean you're getting kicked and your goggles are being knocked off and you're being held underwater. And you quickly realize that if you want to be able to survive.
Do you see how good he is at storytelling? He transports you into that event. You feel being kicked, you feel your goggles getting knocked off your face. This is the mark of great leadership. Also, quick story as well. Do you notice that he's quite fit for his age? That's because true leaders, the top 0.01%, take as much care of their body as they do of their minds. The body is the mind to them. That's why in my book, the book starts out with the mind, the body, and the soul, right? You need this trifecta. And then it goes into the actual leadership strategies to build up your team to make your company a lot more effective and run without you. But what I had my 9-figure client do, he used to do boxing. I had him sign up for Muay Thai. He had a Muay Thai school next to, close to his house. And that did wonders for his energy and his confidence, because energy is the currency of leadership. So if you're not working out, don't work out just because you want to lose weight or feel great. Work out because you want to maintain a high level of energy. It will do wonders again for your leadership.
To survive in this mass start, you're going to sprint for those first 400, 500, 600 yards to get yourself far enough in the front of the pack that you have open water. And in my opinion, work life is kind of like that. When you're younger, when you don't really know what you're doing, when you have to go down a lot of false ends because you're not sure productive, you better work your ass off. You better sprint. You better work 3 times harder than everybody else in the company. So it's essential. But ideally, you get yourself far enough ahead that you recognize, I can't go at this pace for the entirety of the triathlon. I needed to get myself some breathing room, but now I can back off. So yeah, at certain points in your career, you need hard work. At certain points in the trajectory of your business, you need hard work. Your fundraising, you can't say, oh, we're closing the round, I'm taking vacation for 2 weeks. We're doing M&A, I'm going to be, I'm only going to work a couple hours. No, you're going to have to grind it. But that's not the answer. All right, one more little story, which is part 2 to this.
What he's describing is the difference between the operator mindset and the owner mindset. Operators, or at least, theoretically, you should be in the operator mindset until you're making 6 figures as a founder, because operators think in terms of product market fit, leads, and sales. That's it. Owner mindset thinks in terms of systems and teams, right? Who can I delegate this to? How can I systemize this so that it runs on itself? How can I automate it? But what most founders do, even my client, even though he was doing 9 figures, they're getting so much value, so much significance out of being in the weeds of the company. They're still in that operator mindset. They still have to close deals with big clients. They still have to travel to negotiate prices and stuff like that. Somebody can do that for you. My dad was the same. I was like, are you saying that you can't give somebody these specific tasks, you can't delegate it to somebody else in your company? You're the only one who can do this? Obviously he could, but the problem is you're getting so much importance, so much significance. You're not treating the business as a source of freedom, fun, and finance. You're treating it as a source of significance. Maybe you still don't feel good enough. And when your team is so impressed with you, you feel so good about yourself. That's the trap. It's not about impressing your team. It's about creating masters, something that I heard my martial arts, like my grandmaster say, right? Become a master maker. Turn your team members into masters, make them better than you. That's the mark of greatness. You want your students, your team to be better than you in every single way. They will still follow you because you have other traits. You need a leader who can keep people together.
Which is why I say that it's a myth for hard work. During one part of my career, I lived in Europe. I was doing international marketing for a big software company. We had an office in Paris, and I lived in Paris.
Notice again his storytelling skills. Notice how he transports you inside of the story. He paints a picture with his words, because words create worlds.
But I was meeting every week with the marketing people in our other branches. So probably 4 days out of 5, I was flying. Fly to Copenhagen one day, then I'd fly down to Milan, then I might fly to London, then I might fly to Madrid in 1 week. So I spent a lot of time at the airport. And because I'm sometimes not that organized, I'd be late. And you would find me just sprinting down the concourse in my blazer and my wool coat, trying to desperately make the plane. And what I found out was that probably 49% of the time, I'd pull up to the gate and the plane was delayed, and I'd have to wander onto the plane, no problem at all. I could have made it on crutches. And instead, I'd sit there marinating in my sweat for another hour before the plane took off. Or the other 49% of the time, I'd come sprinting down the concourse and you'd see the plane halfway out in the runway about to take off. And what I realized is it didn't make a difference whether you ran for a plane or not. That you're either going to make it or you weren't going to make it, and that running didn't make the difference. And I vowed then and there I'd never run for a plane again, and I never have. And I'm telling you that story because it's a metaphor in that so many entrepreneurs spend all this time running for planes. They are up all night polishing their deck. They're reviewing the work of people to make sure the spelling is correct. They're double checking every detail. They are working so hard. But I know from experience that It's like running for the plane. Most of the time, doesn't make a difference. You don't lose the deal at 2 o'clock that morning because you didn't check the fonts. You lost that deal 4 weeks ago when you didn't have some fundamentals right, or you just weren't the right company to begin with. No matter how hard you worked, you weren't going to change the outcome. And that is the key to having some balance in your life as an entrepreneur, is this recognition that if you're smart about the things that you choose to focus on, you make 99% of the difference. And that all that extra work does not really change the outcome any.
Yes. We have a saying in Romanian, never chase after buses or airplanes and women. So this is most founders, right? You're running around all the time putting out fires, but like he said, if you are smart about the choices you're making, you will create better results than running around like a headless chicken, trying to catch opportunities or make sure that you don't make mistakes, trying to make sure you don't make mistakes. But leaders, powerful leaders, you're going to notice that they move slowly, that they use pauses, and that they never rush. You know when you have a pedestrian and you're waiting with your car, and this always makes me smile. Some people take their time walking in front of your car on the pedestrian walk or whatever you call it, the J, whatever. And some people run. They're like, ding, 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 ding. Most founders are like that. And look at the next time this happens to you, look at how weak the person who's running in front of your car, trying to not take too much of your time, look at how weak they look. That's you when you're rushing things. That's how your team sees you. Take your time. Walk slowly, make better decisions, and carry a big stick. That's where the martial arts element comes in. Beautiful. Get the chapter. I'm giving away a chapter from my book for free. Funny enough, it's the freedom chapter. That chapter alone will give you back 10 hours of your week so that you have more time to spend with your family, so that you have more time to strategize and focus on what's really important in your business, not the normal day-to-day stuff that you've been focusing on for such a long time and you haven't seen that much growth. Get the chapter for free through the link below. And I've also created this powerful training, this in-depth training for the few of you. It's a 40-minute training, right? So the reason why I'm not putting this public on YouTube is because the watch time is going to... Most people are not going to watch this. Most people are not ready to level up their businesses. They're not serious about it. They say they are, but they're really not. But for the very few of you who are, I highly recommend you watch this training right here. Or if you're not really ready and you want a bit more information, I suggest watching this video next.